Hi, how you doing?
I'm doing great.
Oh,
Happy, what is this? Oh, it's Saturday, right?
yeah, yeah. You're silly.
Now
Okay.
my cup says, I solemnly swear that I'm up to no good.
Oh my gosh. Okay. No, now remember, we're doing like what's his name? Representative Lewis. We're
Uh-huh.
doing some good trouble. We
Good
get
trouble.
into
We
some
good
good
trouble.
trouble.
Good
All
trouble. I
right.
like that.
Okay, so we are doing our culturally relevant professional developments, and not just in the school system, but overall. Because people don't understand what culturally relevant pedagogy or education, they don't understand it because they think it's only about teaching black kids and then teaching black kids to feel better than no, I'm sorry. Let me get that right. Teaching the white children that they shouldn't feel bad, but they should feel bad. And that is nothing to do with culturally relevant education or professional development.
Mhm.
What you think?
I completely agree. They are trying to go to the point of it's this white guilt thing that they're you're trying to make our kids feel guilty. When it's not about your kids feeling guilty. It's just trying to develop an understanding of each other's cultures and
Mhm.
how it helps us learn about each other and also the effect that it has on us with learning in general and how
Yes.
we learn. That's a big misconception that's happening right now, and then it's kind of like what they did with CRT, critical
Right.
race theory. They tried to connect it to that, which I am a true believer in critical race theory. I don't care what anybody thinks. I think that was one of the greatest things that was created because it's not to hurt anybody, but to help us grow as a people to understand each other in general. How can we not understand each other if we don't know what we went through and where we're going so we can plan on where we're going in a better and a positive direction.
Right.
Mhm.
I always think about culturally relevant education like therapy.
Mhm.
When you go to therapy, one of the things that they ask is about your background. They ask you about your upbringing. They ask you, how did you feel about it? What was going on when you was a child? And they're not doing that to bring it back so you can feel bad about yourself. They're doing it so that you can pinpoint the problem and then try to work for solutions so that it would not repeat itself. So that's
Mhm.
what's going on with culturally relevant education, professional development. It's for us to just teach the children about who we are. And critical race theory, that's more connected to critical race theory. But
Mhm.
critical race theory is actually taught more in the law side. It's
Yes.
mostly in law schools. So critical race theory won't even hit the K through 12. So I don't even know how they just threw some stuff up in there and messed all this up. And culturally relevant education, um, when I was doing my studying, and
Mhm.
my research. And oh my gosh, the research was heavy. But what I noticed that the research uh, was coming from the medical side, those articles and everything, because remember, they have to see more diverse group of people. They're not
Mhm.
just seeing one group, they're seeing everybody. And so they need to be able to understand their background. You need to understand it like right now, this is the month for the Black maternal health. Look
Mhm.
at that. We have to know that it is, well, they have to know that it is three to, what is it? 3 to 5 times higher for Black mothers to lose their children and then to lose themselves through
Yes.
birth.
Yes.
So that's something they need to know. That's not trying to make anybody feel bad. That's just something you need to know if you're going to properly treat them.
I completely agree with that. One of the things I think that we need to go back to is the fact of education. So many people are not educating themselves on what things exactly are and what they're meant to do. Culturally relevant education is just teaching us about each other. And then, as you said, it's on the medical side, which is so important. I can even say myself that as I have gone to different doctors of different uh, backgrounds,
Hmm.
the most attentive, and I'm going to be honest, has been Black doctors because they understand us as a whole. And that's why it's understandable that other doctors need to understand us too, because there are some beliefs that they think that for some reason we can endure pain more than
Yeah,
any
I'm trying
other
to figure that one out.
race. Yeah, I don't know. I thought we all bleed the same red. I mean, all of that. I don't understand why it is that they would believe our pain tolerance would be higher. But these are things that comes with culturally relevant education, is teaching people that although we're different with some things that we do culturally, but physically, in that term, we're the same.
Hmm.
We feel pain the same, we bleed the same. We are just different. Maybe we have some differences, which I think is what make us all unique. I don't think anybody wants to be exactly like the other person,
Right.
but
Tell me
that,
about it.
yeah, but that's what makes us unique and what makes life more enjoyable is having all these differences, and then to appreciate each other's differences is even better for
Hmm.
us as a whole, as just as a country, a community, as a world. So
Yeah.
that's my thoughts on that one.
Well, I remember one time I was going into Walmart, and I was just kind of, this was a long time ago, before you know. But I was walking through and I heard every language that you probably could hear. I mean, I had Spanish over here, Korean over on this side. I heard some people talking French, the Creole French. You could tell I knew they were from Haiti. And I heard, the regular Spanish. And then you got to remember Spanish, you have Mexico, but you also have El Salvadorian, Honduras. You have
Mhm.
El Salvador. Honduras, you have Spain. So you have all of this. It was just wonderful. I really enjoyed that because it lets me know that I am in a very diverse place.
Mhm.
And everybody is respecting everybody because I'm not telling anybody to stop talking. I'm not going to do that. That's something I won't do. So for us to accept each other with respect. Culturally relevant education, the professional developments have to take place everywhere. And
Mhm.
for example, I'm gonna tell you, when I was teaching my class, and I had a white girl, and I asked her, I said, "What's your background? What's your parents' background?" She said, "I don't know." I said, "Go home and ask your mom and dad your background. What are you in your background, your ethnicity?" Yes, I mispronounce it, but you know what I'm saying.
Mhm.
And so she did, and she came back. She said, "Oh, they said that I'm Irish." I said, "Oh, cool. What kind of Irish?" She said, "Huh?" I said, "Ask them what kind of Irish." So she went back, she did her thing, and she came back. She said, "I'm black Irish. Does that mean I'm black?" And I said, "No, baby, it doesn't mean you're black, but it just means that your hair is dark, your eyelash, your eyebrows and stuff like that is just dark, and your skin may just have a little tan to it." I said, "But no, it doesn't mean you're black. They just associate it." And she said, "Oh," she said, "Well, I didn't even think about it like that." There you go. Things like that, children themselves don't even know who they are, regardless of what race that they have behind them. So that's why when I did my project and under the professional development, break it down, get to know the child. I remember when you have to be in the classroom when you're administrator. I did it when I was a specialist. I had to go in the classroom and listen to the teacher. And one of the things that you're supposed to do is see how the teacher connects to the children and how they connect the subject, whatever the lesson is, how do they connect that to the teacher, I mean, to the students. So when I'm listening to each teacher, I'm sitting there listening. How are you taking this and making sure that each child will understand it the way they should? That's considered the under the T test. That's distinguished, accomplish or distinguished. How did you take that lesson and connect it to the individual child?
Mhm.
Well, if you're not learning about the individual child, how can you connect it? Because it cannot be a one for all. Sorry, it doesn't work that way. You have to know the child. Even, you have to know their likes, their wants, what's going on at home. It doesn't have to be totally in their business, but it is enough for you to excuse me, to be able to say, hey, this person loves football. This is why they love football. Or this
Mhm.
person is from Louisiana. So I do understand what's going on in Louisiana. Let's see if we can connect the dots. This person is from Haiti. It's different things that you can do to connect that lesson. And that's why it's important to have culturally relevant professional developments to me.
I absolutely agree. And when I think about that, the fact that professional development is so important because if you think about our teaching workforce in America, it is actually over, I think it's close between 80 and 85% white women.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and the majority of and I'm not being funny, but a lot of these teachers have never even themselves been culturally in contact with anything but within their own community. So
Mm-hmm.
therefore, they have these preconceptions, I want to call it, when they
Exactly.
get Black children into their classrooms.
Mm-hmm.
And I find, and I have not, this is just not something I'm saying, I have observed that they
Mm-hmm.
treat them differently
Mm-hmm.
um, than other students. They're always looking for something to go wrong with these kids. Uh, I'm trying to say it in a kind of a nice way. I want to be a little blunt, but I have seen the differences where you can see where a child of ours could be behaving the same way as another child, but for some reason they get pinpointed and punished because of that lack
Mm-hmm.
of understanding of us culturally. Even I think it was a book called Teacher Talk that
Mm-hmm.
talks about this. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's a really good book. And it talks about, and it actually tries to explain to teachers like that an example, when they say, ask a question to a child, do you want to go upstairs now? It's time to go to bed. That's what they do culturally. If you ask our kids that, they gonna see it as a question. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna keep playing.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you asked me a question. You have to say directly because this is the way they're raised and we're culture. It's time to go. Let's go. And they're gonna
Mm-hmm.
go. So when they do that, they don't understand when our kids look and say, well, you asked me a question, so I kept doing what I'm doing because they
Mm-hmm.
don't understand us culturally. And that also goes to the way they teach our kids. They have to understand our kids culturally so they know how to ask questions, how to give a directive more, how to even get them to engage into what they are learning. Because if
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't interest them because it's not related to them culturally, you lose our kids, and therefore our kids start failing. And
Mm-hmm.
it's not an excuse, it's just a fact. We even know growing up that when we encountered these experiences, we only pushed through, but the engagement was not there because
Yeah.
they didn't understand us culturally. And it's really
Mm-hmm.
starting to show more and more over time that our kids are being lost because of
Yeah.
now they're taking away this that was once established as a must do is now
Mm-hmm.
a can't do
Mm-hmm.
in the classroom, and it's harming our students more, not just Black students but Hispanic students, Asian students, and so forth, because now when you, even though it's an attack on us, I believe it's
Mm-hmm.
intentionally attack on us,
Mm-hmm.
it's harming all students. And just as you said, there are white students that have different cultural backgrounds too, that other people need to understand, and they need to embrace it and
Yeah.
understand their cultures.
Yeah. And I think the problem is they so busy trying to protect not even all white children or Hispanic children or then it's just like a couple of them. And then all of a sudden, like for example, right now, it's really confusing me with banning all of these books.
Oh
If you don't
gosh.
want the child to read the book, then don't read the book. Come on, it's not that hard. But it seemed to be they're willing to destroy a whole group of communities out there instead of just saying use it as a teachable moment.
Mm-hmm.
I use everything as a teachable moment. That
Mm-hmm.
as a mama, I teachable moment when when I'm everywhere. Teachers are just teachers. When we're in a grocery store, and I don't care who's running around, baby, we need to stop running like that. You're gonna hurt yourself. That's just an automatic. And a friend of mine told me, she said, yeah, just like with her, she's in healthcare and she's doing the same thing. If some things happen and she's automatically on that healthcare, oh no, you need to do this, or maybe you need to go this route. It's just normal. It's normal to, you're not trying to be reactive, but you're just trying to pay attention. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what's going on right now. It's okay that you are fearful of your community being disappearing in front of America, I guess. I don't, and I just said that badly, but still, you more concerned about one group and not everybody. The stereotype is ridiculous. When I
Mm-hmm.
hear people say, well, they lazy. Who are you talking about? You talking about all these people who I mean the reason why you got
Built America.
GPS, the reason why you have you can iron or use an iron board and you talking about helping out with the light bulb, helping out with all of the you mean all of those people? You talking about those folks. You
Mm-hmm.
talking about the reason why you're able to even drive is because of,
Mm-hmm.
oh, that's what you're doing? If we don't teach and learn and understand all communities. And the kids get along well if people leave them alone.
Yeah.
They really do because they understand each other and they accept each other. It's only a pop here, a pop there that's actually disrespectful. But the majority of the children of all communities, they all get along well. They
Mm-hmm.
laugh and they know how to shut each other down without being nasty. Well, maybe the nasty might be in there, but they know how to shut each other down. They know how to elevate each other. They can do those things. If we just have to bring it together. So, in a culturally relevant professional development, first thing, have a conversation. What stereotypes do you know of? Give me a stereotype of a white person, of a black person, of a Hispanic
Mm-hmm.
person, of an Asian person,
Mm-hmm.
of a Native American, of your Indians, your Asian, because they mostly in the Asian community.
Mm-hmm.
So they're linked to it anyway. What do you know? What stereotype do you look at? And then address the stereotype. That in itself, and you're not teaching it to the kids, you're doing that to the adults. And I think that's another thing. They think
Mm-hmm.
in there telling the children this, we're teaching it to the adults so they can have an understanding of how to teach their children, their
I,
students.
you know what, Lordy, you are so right about that. Because I actually, and I'm gonna say, when I get my eyebrows done, I actually had my technician says, how do you feel about them teaching and this is getting a little off, teaching it's okay for a boy to be a girl, and this is that in kindergarten. I looked, I said, I have never seen that taught in any school.
Ever.
I don't know who started that lie, but that is not even a conversation, kindergarten through 12th. I said that's just this is where they have caused these misconceptions of what
Mm-hmm.
is being taught in schools. And it's
Mm-hmm.
not being taught. Just like you said, CRT is not being taught. That is in the law schools. Culturally relevant education is more so done in medical school, which definitely needs to be done.
Mm-hmm.
But they make it the boogeyman that should not exist. Just like the
Mm-hmm.
boogeyman under your bed does not exist, that
Mm-hmm.
does not exist. In
Mm-hmm.
school, we still teach the way we have. We're just teaching people to respect each other culturally and their
There you go.
differences, from
That.
even their physical characteristics to certain things that they might celebrate or enjoy, or even the way we speak. I was even talking about, like, I mean, say a lot of us as Black people, they forget that we were part of the Great Migration, even going to North. Our culture, our language is who we are.
Mm-hmm.
And we love it. I embrace everything about being a Black woman because I mean, that is something that I think is comes from a great people. I'm just being honest because
Yeah.
we have lived through so much and bear through so much. And so that is like one of the things that I'm very proud of. And some people say, oh, you shouldn't be, but no, yes, I am, because we
I
have a
know that's right.
reason to be. And it's not saying white people shouldn't be proud of themselves. It's
Mm-hmm.
just that you need to also respect other people's cultures, because it's not always just about one particular culture, but
Right.
all of our cultures. And we need to respect it and use it to help grow as a people. And the classroom is like an awesome way to do it. And I think that if we stayed on that route before they start pulling it out of the classroom again, that we would have grew a society of kids in the next generation that would have been better. Is to get a better and better generation. But now it's like they're trying to change that and block that greatness
Yeah.
from happening.
Yeah. You said it on the head. You hit it on the head perfectly. Because it's like it's like they're wanting to keep this hierarchy that's not ever been there. Only in
Mhm,
a delusion of a mind that we're just going to pray about,
mhm.
because we're all equal. God did
Yeah.
not create one
Mhm.
group and say, now beat the daylights out of every other group. He didn't do that. He
No.
did not create one group to be up here and the rest of the groups are trying to figure it out,
Mhm,
because we all have something to contribute to this world, we
mhm.
to this society. We all have something positive. It's negative in every community. In
Yes.
every community. Let's just be honest. You got crazies, you got special everything, and in every community. But you have more positive, respectful, honest people in the in the different communities. We just
Mhm,
have to remember there's nothing wrong with my culture and your culture. There's nothing wrong with uh, Black women. We can be a very powerful group, but we got to remember what we went through to get there, to be where we are now. We have to fight 10 times harder to
oh
get
my God,
halfway
100,
there.
100.
Okay, we
Not
do
just
that
10,
200, yeah.
100.
And we got to work harder to prove who
Mhm,
we are. And then when we
mhm.
prove who we are, we still struggling to get where we need to
And we
be.
get knocked down once we prove. They got to knock us down to put us in our place.
But the
It
beauty
feels
of it
like.
all, we still rise.
And we still rise
We
right
still
back up.
rise. God
Absolutely.
don't play about us.
Absolutely.
Look, you know
Absolutely.
me. I start preaching up in this bad boy, and I'm not a preacher. God don't play about us. That's
No.
why we do what we do. That's why it's important to have those conversations. It's okay. I have one of my friends, I love her dearly. Uh, she is funny. When I first met her, we were in a group, and I wanted my other group. I wanted some people that had moved from my team to another one. And she was straight. She was like, well, wow. And I started laughing. And so, but when I tell you she knew how to work with our kids, and I thought about Gloria Lansing Billings and her, when she did her books, and she talked about, what was the Dreamers? About the Dreamers. I can't remember the book. I don't know why. Because I use Gloria all kind of ways in all of it. So, but she talked about there are white teachers, male and female. They are
Mhm.
Hispanic teachers, male and female. Black teachers, male and female. Asians, everybody that can work with children of all races, because they get to know the kids. Because you
Mm.
got some black people, black teachers that cannot teach black kids
Oh,
because
absolutely.
they
You're
not
right.
paying attention. So
Mhm.
that's why I'm like, it's not just that one part, it's everywhere. And what we have to do is have those type of meetings.
Mhm.
And it's okay. And I think that's the thing I don't get. That's the thing I don't get. Why is that something that you don't want to do? Why you are so bent on not having um Susan B. Anthony in our books, Martin Luther King Jr. in our books. Um, so many of them. Uh, W. E. Du Bois. Why?
Yeah.
Why not? Why not? Because
And you
what
know
they're
what's
teaching.
funny when you, I'm not to interrupt, but what's funny when you
No,
bring
go
it
ahead,
up Martin Luther King Jr., but they love to run to one of his speeches and use it when they're trying to set a
girl.
tone, but they don't
Thank,
want it taught in the books.
thank you. And you sitting there doing
I
like
said,
this here.
wow, you can't
You just
make it
looking
up.
at him like, you just got through saying I have a dream, but you don't want
But
it in
don't
the
want it
book.
taught in these
But you don't
books.
want to have a dream in the book.
Books.
But you want to talk
No,
about the
no.
dream.
No.
I'm like, oh, come on, people. We need to work with this. We need to work with this.
And I like that you brought up that some of our own teachers, Black teachers, can't teach some of our students. And I think that becomes generational at that point,
Yes,
where their mindset is still stuck where they were in school and think things are the same, but each generation changes.
yes.
So one of the problems I always say with teachers is students are not posed to adjust to you. You're supposed to
Was
adjust to the
adjusted.
child. Because the
Exactly.
child, each generation, I can look at, just think as educators, we looked at the generations we taught so far. Both of us have been in this for 30 years, basically. And I look at each single generation, especially starting with my oldest daughter, who was a millennial, my middle daughter, who was on the cusp of being a millennial and Generation Z. Now I have a Generation Z, is my youngest. And here comes the alphas who are completely different inside, each generation coming. And they are all different. So you have to understand them more than they have to understand you. And that's part of culturally relevant education. It's not even just about race, but understanding each generation and how they learn and how they perceive the world. So you can have a better chance of teaching them that information they need to know, so they can take it and start to create and do better things in the world. And I think
Mhm.
that's also part of it. And a lot of them don't understand that, because they say, well, I don't understand that. And so they're not you. This is not your generation. And also, sometimes we tend to lie about our generation and act like it's so perfect when we have a lot of skeletons in the closet from when we were. It's just ours wasn't televised because they didn't have the cell
Thank you,
phones and stuff
Jesus.
to
Thank you,
record.
Jesus.
So they can't prove it. You can't prove it.
There
But
you
now
go.
it can be proven.
You can't prove it.
You
Don't even
can't prove
try
it.
it. But you know what? They talked about that too, about my generation. We did house parties. Oh, baby, we was
Hmm.
always up in there, that house party, and I was doing
Nothing like a good house
baby, we
party.
was always. But this generation now, they don't even think about house parties. That it doesn't actually interest them.
Mm-mm.
But you hear people say, well, you should. No, you shouldn't. No, it's not about what you should. I like what you said. We have to adjust to them. If we're going
Mm-hmm.
to teach and if we're going to be that role model, if we're going to help them, we got to understand them,
Mm-hmm.
period. If we don't understand them, we trying to make a group
We
be us. And no, because got to remember, our parents, their generation was woohoo, they did some stuff. I was listening to some music that I was like, oh. And I looked at my mama. Mama looked at me and bust out laughing. I was like, Myrtle. I said, Mama, you listen to this? And she was rolling laughing. And so I was like, oh, okay. And then even before then, because I'm reading about her name is, they called her the Black Marilyn Monroe. And I don't know why, because she's older than Marilyn Monroe. So, but I think her name was Bryant.
I
It was
I think
something
I know
Bryant.
who you were talking about. Yeah.
And she, because she bleached her hair, she did all of that. And the woman, and after a while, she stepped down and she gave her life to Christ. And so
Mm-hmm.
she started doing different things. So even though she still was using her talents, she just used her talents to elevate
Mm-hmm.
others, especially our community. So she's doing that. And I think she passed maybe 5, 6 years ago. So
Oh.
I'm just sitting there thinking, we need to teach. We need to not just teach now, but we need to tell our children about what happened before. That's
Mm-hmm.
culturally, regardless of what community, and bring them and have them to have that conversation so they can also understand us. And
Mm-hmm.
it's a community thing. God told us. He told us the older is supposed to teach the young, but the young have to teach the old. We all have to stay connected. And if we do that, we'll have a better chance of everybody respecting one another, understanding one another, and not automatically start that stereotype mess. Because that stereotype getting on my nerves. Because if I hear
Mm-hmm.
one more time that black people lazy, you're gonna have me lose my mind. But that's what the culturally relevant education, the professional developments need to be more, not just in the school system, not just in the medical, not just in the legal, but it needs to be in all organizations. And I do
Mhm.
know that they took it out, but I think if they really understand what it means, that it's not just focused on one group, like you said, it's focused on everybody and it's
Mhm.
how to learn from everybody. It's fun. I love to hear my white counterparts talk about stuff, and I said, really? They do
Mhm.
that? And then when I tell them about us, they're, oh, really? Y'all do that? And then
Mhm.
we respect one another and we move on from there. And it's fine. So I believe we need to be we need to have that discussion everywhere.
I agree. It kind of reminds you of and I hate going here because I'm getting in trouble. Like the all lives matter people. If all but if you really felt that way, wouldn't you care about all culture matters in the classroom?
Mhm.
That's my question. Because I know that was the rebuttal kind of to Black Lives Matter, and I'm not gonna go
Mhm.
there. But if it does matter, all culture matters in the classroom. So we should be using all cultures to educate all of our kids so they can get the best education possible. But
Mhm.
instead, we're in a position as educators, we got to be careful what we say. And the only strategy I can see we can use is using something like inquiry-based learning, where you have to pose a good, strong question and make them go search for that information. Because other
Mhm.
words, you can't give it to them. So now you only hope, and that's a good thing, going back to social media and AI that we talked about the previous week, is that that information is out there. Give them, pose those questions so they can go dig and come back and tell it. And so they become the educators, the student. But the unfortunate thing is when they're younger, they can't quite do it as easily as when you get to
Mhm.
older kids. So in
Mhm.
that time, we're losing those kids prior to their ability to go out and do that type of research.
Mhm.
So I just think about that. What you said is like, okay, so it only works when it's in your favor, it feels like. Uh, in
Yes.
terms of that.
Yes, exactly,
Uh,
exactly. If it fits your objective, then you
mhm.
good. But if you feel like it goes against your objective, oh, that's the worst mess I've ever seen. You're just looking
Mhm.
at them like, huh? And I like when they said all lives matter, and I used to get so tickled with that. I said, well, I think it was I'm trying to say who was it? I can't remember. I can't remember who, but it was quite a few people. Let's say it this way, and they said, "Oh well, if you said all lives matter, so that's just like they use the body.
Mhm.
Excuse me. If your whole body is good, but your blood pressure may be going up, now that's going to affect everybody. Now, are you going to go to the doctor because this is what the doctor does? He or she's going to ask you about your blood pressure. They're not gonna ask your foot okay unless they see some swelling. They're not gonna ask that. Are they gonna ask you about your teeth? Maybe, maybe not, but not necessarily. They're just gonna check your blood pressure and give you some medication for your blood pressure. Now you may have kidney problems, but then you didn't say anything. You only talked about your blood pressure, and that's what they're gonna focus on is the problem. They're not gonna focus on anything else. At least not that I've seen. Because if I go to the doctor and tell them I have something wrong with my blood pressure, she's going to ask me some series of questions. Then after she gets through asking the questions, she's going to treat the high blood pressure. She's not going to treat my toenails. My toenail fell off. Or my nail. She's not because that's not in the office visit. Because if you having any issues, they say, oh, well, that's an additional, because they start putting that down. You start getting charged for that. So you go
Mhm.
and you focus. So if all lives matter, okay, great. But Black lives right now is the one that's suffering.
Mhm.
Maternal health is what's suffering. Focus on the maternal health. Focus on that. If you get that together, now all lives are back good, but now our Hispanic population, like right now, what they're doing with the immigrants, right now you're going a little further. Culturally relevant education is just that. Like you said earlier, it's just that. We're focusing on what's the problem. Then we're gonna put it back because it's all good now. But we got to understand every aspect of these different communities. But it seems like they don't want to do that because they scared.
Yeah, and being scared is I'm not quite understanding what they're scared of.
The
Um,
disappearing. They said they're scared about disappearing. Good luck. I
I'm sorry, the silence is all I can get on that. I'm like, where they going? I just don't understand that at all. I know that I guess they're scared of becoming the minority. They're scared of I don't know. I guess they what they call karma, which I don't think. One thing I know is that nobody, especially us, do not want to cause the same pain we've had on anybody else. Because when you go through
I would
pain,
not.
the
I would
one
not.
thing is you don't even want it on your worst enemy. And
No.
that's me. I know
No, I
because
don't. I
I
wouldn't
don't.
wish that on nobody. I
I,
wouldn't wish it because at the end of the day, I truly believe when what God told us to do. When He said turn the other cheek, He's just saying don't do anything. I got this. He's
yeah.
not telling you to continue to receive beatings or anything like that. What He's just saying is, hey, I got it. You just keep doing what you do because retaliation doesn't work.
No, it
No
doesn't.
matter how much you think it does, retaliation does not
Hmm.
work. You just have to be patient. God got it, and He's not
Yeah.
ever
I,
failed us.
amen.
And when He fixes it, when He gets it, that's just it. And same thing with that's why I'm very adamant about culturally relevant education. These professional developments or trainings that they're trying to shut down. It's not diversity. And I think the issue is they keep
Yeah.
saying it's diversity, equity, inclusion. Well, like I was telling you, the late Jenny Clark, she said it beautifully. If you can dismantle DEI that fast, that means
Mhm.
that you just did it because you were following the law and you didn't want to get in any trouble. But now the law is saying you do whatever you want, go by merit. But if you really go by merit, are you really going to see what you see currently? You got to think about it. Are you actually going to see it? What if you really truly believe in merit? And if you truly believe in looking at that paper and seeing the experiences, the education, the understanding, all of the, if you really see that and you really do it, do you really believe that you're going to see what you see now?
And with go by merit, then there's a lot of people, and it'll be the people they don't want to need to step down from their job. Because those are the ones, what did I say last week? PEE, privileged and entitled employment,
Mm-hmm.
where they don't even have the qualifications, the
Mm-hmm.
experience, and they sit in
Mm-hmm.
higher positions than people that look like me and you who are not given those opportunities, even though we've earned it. So that's why I said DEI. No, I don't, because people don't even look at what it's saying. Diversity, what's wrong with that? Equity, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with wanting everybody to be equal on an equal playing ground? Diversity is a good thing because it helps us understand each other. You know, our differences and how our differences can grow nice and beautiful things in the world and be more creative. And then when you go with inclusion, don't we want everybody to be included? Are we saying we want to
Mm-hmm.
exclude people? So what it comes down to is what is the opposite of DEI when they think about it? So you don't like DEI. So what is the opposite of it? What is it you like? The opposite. So that's my question to people who are against DEI. What is the opposite of it when you say diversity, equity, and
Equity and
inclusion?
inclusion.
So I want them to process that. Sometimes you have to ask those questions in another
Mm-hmm.
way
Mm-hmm.
instead of saying why you don't like DEI. Say, well, what is the opposite that you want? Since you're
Mm-hmm.
against that, what is it that you want?
Mm-hmm. And if you look at the current administration, you see exactly what they want.
They're demonstrating what they want.
There
Because
you
I even
go. And
you
is it
look at
working?
unqualified people sitting up in positions that they have knocked down people of color from and put other people in.
And
And
not
they
just
don't know what
women,
they're
the
doing.
women too. Baby, they tearing
Yes.
them poor women up of all backgrounds. And it's like,
Hmm.
I'm not understanding that. And then you're placing people in there that trying to figure it out. If that's what you want to do, okay. But at the end of the day, you have to respect culture because they're different. At the end of the day, I think the best thing for us to do is understand that cultural relevant education is just about us learning about each other. And in
Yes. Yes.
education, they really should want to learn about the kids and everything about our students, especially if they want to hit that distinguished level. And they tell
Yeah.
you to learn about the children. Your planning is about organizing where all children, you would stop and say, this child or this group of kids need this group of kids need this group of kids need this. So when you're planning, you're looking at everything. You're not just looking at, well, you're planning to create activities. But remember, I told you what one of the things that I got from Janice Hale that our, especially our African American kids, I like what you said about left and right. Well, African American kids take the whole thing. They take the whole thing and then they break it down in parts.
Mm-hmm.
And if you really think about it, that's the truth. Because I want to know what's the end result. What's the end? Oh, okay. Okay, so let me work toward that. And that's what I know about African American students because I focus more on them on my study. So that's
Yeah.
what we need to do. We need to know who we're working with and how we can make it a better place for all of the children, not just one group, everybody. Because teachers, no matter who they are, they're teaching everybody.
Mm-hmm.
They're teaching everyone. And you want to give everybody the respect they're supposed to have. If you don't want to give them respect, then what you teaching for? Or if you don't want to give anybody respect, what are you in a business for? Because your business, you want everybody to come in your business. You just don't
Mm-hmm.
want one group. Because if that's all you want, you're not going to have a very successful business.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Yeah.
And I I was just thinking about when you were talking about, and I'm trying to get my thoughts really together, uh, that when they get, we always talk about giving kids choice on how they learn,
Mm-hmm.
but why is it a problem with giving them choice with their culture as a basis for how they learn?
Right.
And
That's
I
the
think about that because they talk about how important it is that they have a choice on how they learn. You go back to multicultural intelligence.
mm-hmm.
Part of that could be the culture behind it. You know, if you give them a choice, what's wrong with them using their culture to present their understanding of something?
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I'm just so confused about why is there a problem with this? Especially when we talk about, just like you said, they're taking, you can't use Susan B. Anthony in some states, Martin Luther King. You can't bring up any of these different people, anything that was on women's rights, you know, black rights, Hispanic rights, Asian rights. But that's what America is. And it's part of our culture as Americans, how we have gotten to where we're at now. And
Mm-hmm.
that's a
With a
good thing
melting
to
pot.
learn. Yeah, that's what they tried to
They
sell
used
us
to
on
say
for
it,
years. I
remember?
remember we used to hear that as early as the 70s in school.
Yeah, we
Oh,
was a
America's a
melting
melting
pot.
pot. You said they're afraid of a boogeyman that doesn't even exist.
Exactly.
That's
They're
what I say. It
making their
doesn't
own
exist.
problems. They're
Yeah, they're
actually
creating their
creating
own
their own
problem.
problems.
And
Yeah.
then also, I believe it's just fear tactics and control.
Yeah.
And they
But I'm
get
gonna be
control
me.
everybody.
I'm
Huh?
gonna be me. I'm gonna be me.
Yes, yes, yes,
I
yes,
like me.
yes, absolutely.
Okay, lady, we have did us today. I enjoyed the conversation.
Yes, yes. I can't wait to what our topic would be next.
I know we got to think about that.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Okay, you have any last words?
Um, I'm just hopeful for the future that we will overcome this moment in time and that we will get back to handling business with our students and educating them the way they need to be educated. That's where I'm just going to stay in hope is, you know, what my forever president would say, you know, hope. He always talked about having hope. So that's where I am is I have hope that we will overcome this as we have always done and things will get back to the way we are and we will have a new generation that comes along where we will never encounter this again. That's my hope.
Praise God. Well, I'm going to use, I've always thought about this. He gave us all a purpose. And he told us that what's more important is for us to love one another and, well, love your neighbor as you will love yourself. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
not going to deprive myself of anything. I'm going to do what I need to do through him. So if I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, I'm going to do the two commandments that it seemed like they don't want in the schools.
Mm-hmm.
Love God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength, and love your neighbor as you will love yourself. If we
Mm-hmm.
do that, culturally relevant education will always be the forefront because that means we're understanding each other.
Yes.
So that's what we
Yes.
do.
That was so well said. That is perfectly goes with this. Perfect.
All right. Well,